I want you to do something for me. Just for a second, think about the last time you hugged someone you really truly love. I mean, actually hug them. You could feel their warmth, maybe their scent, just that simple, unspoken feeling of safety that comes with their presence. It's this powerful biological signal that tells you everything's okay. Now, what if that was just gone? What if the person who is your greatest comfort in the world is suddenly reduced to a face on a screen or a voice in your headphones? Well, that's the reality for millions of people, and today we're going to dive deep into the psychology of what that actually does to us.
You know, we've all heard that saying, right? Distance makes the heart grow fonder. It's a nice thought, but let's be real. Anyone who's actually living in a long-distance relationship knows there's an unspoken second half to that quote, and it's the one that feels a whole lot truer. It's that constant, low-level buzz of anxiety, that worry that you're drifting apart, the fear of some tiny misunderstanding, and that really gnawing feeling that you might be falling in love with a memory instead of a person. If that sounds at all familiar, you are definitely in the right place.
You know that specific feeling you have, that constant ache? It actually has a name in psychology. It's called ambiguous loss. And it's this profound paradox, right? Your partner is there, they're just a text away, a call away, but at the same time, they are fundamentally not there. You can't hold their hand when they're having a bad day. You can't read their body language during a tough conversation. And this ambiguity, this weird state of being both connected and totally alone at the same time, is a huge psychological stressor that our brains are just not built to handle. So, here's the game plan for today. First, we're going to unpack the heart's paradox, this big mismatch between our modern tech and our ancient brains. Then, we'll get into the science of separation to see what's really going on up there. After that, we're going to expose the fantasy trap, which might just be the most important thing you learn today. We'll see how this stuff plays out in real life, and then we'll get to the good stuff, a scientific survival guide packed with strategies you can actually use. And finally, we'll look at what it really means to build love across the miles.
So, the central problem of modern long-distance love? It's really a biological mismatch. See, intellectually, you're more connected than ever before. You can share your entire day in real time through your phone. But biologically, your body is basically starving for a whole different kind of connection, one that technology, for all its wonders, just can't provide. Think about it. For millions of years of human evolution, love and safety meant one thing: being physically close. It meant sharing food, sharing shelter, sharing warmth. Our entire nervous system is calibrated to register safety through physical presence. So when you take that away, you create this massive conflict between your heart, which says, I love and trust this person, and your ancient lizard brain, which is just screaming, where are they? I'm alone and I'm vulnerable. And here's what happens when that biological alarm bell starts ringing. The brain absolutely hates uncertainty. It hates a vacuum. So when there's a gap in information, like you can't see their facial expression or hear their tone perfectly, your brain doesn't just leave it blank. Oh no. It fills in the gap, and it almost always fills it with your worst insecurities. A short text isn't just a short text. It's suddenly proof they're losing interest. A missed call turns into a whole story about them being out with someone else. The physical distance literally becomes a projection screen for all of your deepest fear.
Okay, let's get into the chemistry of all this, because the pain you're feeling, it isn't just in your head, it's in your body. That ache of missing someone is a real, measurable, neurochemical event. And honestly, understanding this is the very first step to getting a handle on it.
So the first key idea here is something called skin hunger. And yes, that's a real term, also known as touch deprivation. Our bodies rely on this amazing hormone called oxytocin. You probably heard it called the love hormone or the cuddle hormone. It's released through hugging, holding hands, any kind of intimacy. And its main job is to lower your stress and basically whisper to the fear center of your brain, hey, you're safe, you belong. In a long-distance relationship, you're pretty much in a constant state of oxytocin withdrawal. Now this slide, it shows us the chemical reality of your brain state. But let's go beyond just the labels and talk about what this actually feels like day to day. When you're living far apart, your oxytocin is low, which means the brakes are basically off your body's stress system. Your cortisol, the stress hormone, just stays chronically high. And that's why you might feel agitated all the time, or have trouble sleeping, or just have that constant low-level hum of anxiety. You're not imagining it. You are literally in a chemically stressed out state. And then there's dopamine, the neurotransmitter of desire and reward. Because contact with your partner is so scarce, your brain starts treating it like hitting the jackpot on a slot machine. When you finally get that call or that text, you get this huge euphoric hit of dopamine. The reward feels massive. But the crash that comes after, when the call ends and you're alone again, is just as deep. This isn't just a figure of speech. Your brain is literally being trained to crave that next notification like a drug.
which is why the silence in between can feel so completely unbearable. It's a truly addictive cycle of intense highs and crushing lows.
So this chemical roller coaster leads us to what might be the single most dangerous psychological trap in any long-distance relationship. And I really want you to listen closely to this part, because it's so subtle, it happens automatically, and it can be absolutely devastating if you're not aware of it. It's the trap of falling in love with an idea of your partner instead of the real, messy, complicated person.
The fancy psychological term for this is idealization. You know, when you see someone every single day, you can't really escape their reality, their bad moods, their messy habits, their morning breath. But in an LDR, most of your interactions are kind of curated. You talk when you've both decided to be on. So your brain, which just loves to complete patterns, starts to fill in all those missing, unseen moments with perfection. It unconsciously creates this fantasy partner who is always witty, always available, always romantic.
And this slide just lays it out so clearly, doesn't it? The real person, they deal with mundane, boring, and sometimes just unpleasant stuff. But the idealized partner, they only exist in the highlights, the scheduled calls, the perfectly crafted texts, the flawless memories. You're basically interacting with a carefully edited version of them. And here's the real danger. It is incredibly easy to start believing that the edited version is the only version that exists.
So, and this is the crucial point, this fantasy is fragile. The #1 reason so many long-distance couples break up shortly after closing the distance is because this idealized projection just shatters when it collides with 24/7 reality. All of a sudden, the fantasy partner is replaced by a real human being who leaves wet towels on the floor, and that disappointment can feel like a betrayal, even though it's totally, completely normal.
All right, so we've covered the theory, we've covered the science. Now let's look at how these principles actually show up in those common, everyday fights that can feel so confusing and so painful. Okay, here's a classic. You're hoping for a long, connecting, goodnight call to soothe your anxiety. Instead, you get a quick text. "Night, babe, love you." Immediately, your brain's threat detection system kicks in. Because you can't see that they're exhausted or hear the noise in the background, your insecurity just fills the void. The story becomes, they're being cold, they don't care, and just like that, a fight starts over something that, if you were in person, would have been a complete non-issue.
This one is born directly from that idealization trap we talked about. You've waited months for this visit. In your head, it's going to be a perfect, romantic movie montage. But then you finally meet, you're both exhausted from travel, you're hangry, and you have some small, stupid argument about where to get dinner. And suddenly, the perfect fantasy is punctured by reality. It's not that the argument itself is a big deal, but it feels devastating because it shatters that perfect image you've been clinging to for so long. The pressure for perfection just ruins the simple, human joy of just being together again.
And finally, there's this weird uncanny valley of digital intimacy. You set up a date night over a video call, you both cook, maybe you light a candle, but then the connection lags, the audio cuts out, their face freezes mid-sentence. Instead of feeling close, the faulty technology just highlights the gap between you. It's almost real, but not quite. And that almost can make you feel more painfully alone than you did before you even started the call.
Okay, so we have diagnosed the problem in detail. It's hard, it's chemical, and it is very, very real. But is it hopeless? Absolutely not. In fact, research shows that couples in long-distance relationships can actually develop superior communication and intimacy because they're forced to. So let's get into the actionable science-backed toolkit for not just surviving, but actually thriving.
Here are 5 strategies. Now, these aren't just little tips, they are direct countermeasures to the psychological and biological challenges we've just been talking about. We're going to go through each one, reframing the distance, creating synchronized experiences, the next visit rule, deepening your emotional intimacy, and, yep, embracing the boring. Step 1 is all about a mental shift, what psychologists call cognitive reframing. Instead of seeing the distance as a prison, try to view it as an opportunity for autonomy. See, a lot of close proximity relationships can become codependent. An LDR forces you to build a full, rich, individual life. This is the time to join that book club, take that class, plan that trip with your friends you've been putting off. Invest in your own happiness and growth. Because when you are 2 happy, whole individuals, you become interdependent. You're choosing to share your lives, not needing the other person to complete you. And that is a much, much stronger foundation for any relationship.
Step 2 is about tricking your brain into feeling like you're close. Just talking isn't enough. You need to create a shared reality through synchronized experiences. Don't just talk about the movie you watched, watch it at the exact same time. Hit play together, cook the same recipe over a video call, play an online game. When you do things together in real time, your brains actually start to mirror each other, activating the same neural pathways as if you were in the same room. This creates this powerful sense of we-ness that a simple conversation just can't replicate.
Okay, step 3 is non-negotiable, and I really want you to hear this one. It's the next visit rule. An indefinite separation is poison to the human brain. It just triggers despair and hopelessness. You must always have the next visit on the calendar, even if it's 6 months away. Having a concrete date fundamentally transforms your entire mindset. It shifts you from the anxiety of, I don't know when I'll see them again, to the positive anticipation of, I am 87 days away from seeing them. Anticipation releases dopamine and it keeps hope alive. It gives your brain a finish line to focus on.
Step 4 is about leaning into your greatest advantage. Since you lack physical intimacy, you have to maximize your emotional intimacy. This is your superpower. You have to go deeper than the surface level "how was your day" talk. Use tools that are designed to build connection, like Dr. Arthur Aaron's 36 Questions to Fall in Love, or apps like Paired. Ask the big questions. Share your fears, your dreams, your memories. Don't be afraid to go deep. This is your chance to build a foundation of emotional understanding that, frankly, many in-person couples never get around to achieve.
And finally, step 5. This is the direct antidote to that fantasy trap. To fight idealization, you have to actively share the boring stuff. Send a picture of your messy desk. Send a voice note complaining about traffic. Talk about the mundane, unglamorous little details of your day. It might feel silly to send a picture of your dirty laundry, but what you're really doing is inviting your partner into your real, unedited life. It keeps the relationship grounded in reality and reminds both of you that you're in a relationship with a real, flawed, wonderful human being, not a perfect character in a story. This is the ultimate act of intimacy.
So, as we start to wrap this up, I want to leave you with a final, really empowering way to look at this whole experience. Long-distance relationships are not for the faint of heart. They demand a level of trust and patience and emotional maturity that most relationships are just never asked to develop. Think of it this way. Distance isn't just an obstacle you have to get over, it's a forge. It's a process that, if you navigate it consciously with the tools we've talked about, can build a foundation of communication and trust and commitment that is absolutely indestructible. Seriously, many couples who survive the distance find that living in the same city is the easy part. They've already done all the hard work.
I just love this quote because it reframes the entire challenge. It's not about absence. It's about the resilience and the incredible reach of your connection. It's a test of your bond. And every single day you choose to stay committed, you are passing that test with flying colors. And maybe this is the most important takeaway of all. The next time you feel that ache of missing them, the next time that anxiety creeps in, don't see it as a sign of weakness or a sign that your relationship is falling. See it for what it is. It is physical proof that the connection you have is real, it's powerful, and it is deeply, deeply worth fighting for. The pain only exists because the love is so strong.
So remember this. You are not just passively waiting for the distance to end. You are actively building something. With every honest conversation, every shared silly experience, every boring update, you are constructing a bond that is stronger than any number of miles. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. What is it about your connection that makes it truly worth the wait?